Welcome back to the In Good Company podcast. I am joined by a friend of, oh my gosh, almost 2 decades now. We've got the same last name. We lied to a bunch of people for years that we were brothers.
Yeah.
All that and more. Cannot wait to introduce you to Luke Thomas.
Yay!
Yeah.
Great to be here.
We have a great audience, so that was not Luke cheering. That's the audience.
And it wasn't like one of those meme samples, like,
Yeah, no. That we have a full live audience. It's huge.
But it's really about the audience of one, you know?
Wow.
I mean, he's actually standing behind the camera.
Yeah. Justin Osella, my brother-in-law, has helped us launch this podcast. Obviously, really happy to have his support as well. But Luke, I'm just so pumped to have you here, man. You knew me when I was probably 19 years old.
Yeah.
And we just have a whole history of life when we worked in church together, and then now we've both individually launched businesses.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what do you do, who you are, what's your family dynamic, all that fun stuff for those that don't know your story.
Sure. I am in the trenches of middle age.
Oh.
Yep. Married for 20 years.
Wow.
Yep. 3 kids. Girl, almost 16. Other girl, 13. So all the family cycles of the women are synchronized.
Now, when you say family cycles, I just want to confirm what you're talking about. I got it. Keep going. I got it.
Yeah, they got it too.
Okay.
And then I have a son, so he and we kind of hide and play Fortnite during the right strategic times.
Got it.
Yep. And, we're building stuff. We're builders, right? We're builders. And we're doing a design build residential construction, but feel like I've always been a builder of sorts, whether it's people, teams, events, ministries, endeavors, like always just felt like from a very, very young age, whether it was Legos or helping my dad build a barn, like always had that gravity to just build stuff.
Yeah.
So we do residential remodeling, everything from additions to mudrooms, bathrooms. Did a butler pantry for the Thomas family.
For who?
For you. So
It didn't come with a butler, though, unfortunately. I still have to go in the pantry, but the pantry itself was wonderful. So thank you.
Yeah.
Luke, where does H&L come from? What's the
H&L? My wife's name is Hannah. My name's Luke. I know it's super deep.
My business is called Thomas Media Group, so equally as creative.
Yeah.
We just use our names, and
I mean, why not?
yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
So again, for those listening, Luke and I worked at an incredible church here in Rochester together for a number of years. We were in youth ministry, youth development for, I saw a full pocket of kids from 6th grade all the way through graduation. I know you were very much a part of that journey with me. Do you have one kind of defining story or moment with us working together that you felt like is a fun story to tell?
I
know there's a lot.
So many. I was thinking about this a little bit, reminiscing, nostalgia and all that. And we should probably talk about many of them. But the one thing that popped up is when you slept on my couch for a few weeks in my house.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back, my eldest daughter was being potty trained at the time. And Silly Mike, as he has always been known by my kids, you were reading potty time to my daughter.
Yeah.
And shortly thereafter, she was completely potty trained. So, Magic Mike.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so thanks for that.
Yeah, Magic Mike is a little bit of a different thing, but yes.
A different podcast?
No, Magic Mike is like Channing Tatum is a stripper, I believe. It's a movie. We'll keep that offline. But anyway,
I'm concerned you know that.
No, everybody knows that. It was a great film. I've never seen it.
It's a great film.
I'm kidding. I've never seen it. So my favorite memory, I think, just thinking back of all the years, for those that have volunteered in church and you've done summer camps and all sorts of things. This is going to be an old one, and it wasn't necessarily you that did this, but we just did a lot of different skits at summer camps and just a lot of things that, thank God there weren't like security people there and things just because it was not safe.
Right. We would not, like, I hesitate to say we'd be arrested because then, like, there's terrible connotations with summer camp and, like,
Yeah.
kids and stuff, but, like, we probably should have gotten in more trouble.
It's just
and
tough.
certainly would nowadays.
For sure. And again, it was safe and it was impactful, and like we did a great job with the kids and the development, but it was the I remember we were doing a skit once and we had this great idea to basically tackle one of the leaders into this big pillow that we had. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And I don't remember who it was. You were the youth pastor at the time, so I was not. I would never have suggested this idea. And I believe the leader got hurt a little bit. And
Concussed.
was it a concussion?
It was.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's great. So we did in fact tackle the leader, got the concussion, but killer skit.
Yeah, and kids were impacted.
Yeah.
Deeply
Yeah, well, yeah.
by that.
I think so. Yeah.
So I'll share another memory,
Okay.
a more serious moment.
Okay.
So I was a youth pastor prior to yourself, right? You started as a volunteer on team, and then, just closer and closer kind of to the core of the team, and great things were happening, and it was expanding and building, and we got to build this thing together. And it looked like the right thing to do would be for you to become the youth pastor. So lots of conversations behind closed doors and with leadership, and me advocating for you was easy. It was easy. But there was this defining moment that I can remember clearly, where I knew that you were ready to take on the responsibility of kind of guarding and molding these young hearts in the direction that their parents were trusting us with, and the church was empowering us to do, and we believed in our faith was right for them. And the moment was, you delivered a great talk, a great message. It was really impactful. It was energizing. It was challenging. It was, all these things. But that wasn't really the moment, although you delivered it brilliantly. The moment was when the music started playing kind of at the end to close up, and you just jumped off stage and you went directly to a kid that you had no idea what was happening in their life, but somehow you knew that you were supposed to encourage them. You were supposed to pray for them. And that's when I knew that you weren't in it for the lights. You weren't in it for the crowd. You weren't in it for any kind of prestige. You weren't in it for any kind of position or power or anything like that, but you were in it for the individual.
Yeah.
And I remember shortly after that, I was able to go to leadership and say, like, he's ready. I'm out. I'm out. He's going to do way better than I ever did. So yeah, I think we had tons of those types of moments all across the spectrum of like concussing leaders to these really deep, impactful things that hopefully these kids still remember.
So we could talk about ministry forever. I think for some people listening that have either worked in a church or they volunteer in one, church hurt is a very real thing that people talk about. I think you and I transitioned really well, and we very much honor and appreciate the time that we spent there and have nothing but good things to say. But for people that are listening that have made that transition from what I would call traditional ministry, and they've moved into a for-profit work environment, personally, what has that journey looked like for you, for your family, as you guys have left the pastoral ministry and moved into what you guys are doing at H&L? What has that been like?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question. I would say that, God is for people. The church is the vehicle for that. So because God is for people, God's people are for people. So the vehicle has changed. Our focus has changed, but our heart is still the same.
Yeah.
Because our heart is God's heart towards people. Yeah. So now we get to minister, lead, encourage, and pay employees. And we get to be an example to our clients, to vendors, those kinds of things. And in any industry, but ours in particular, the blue collar industry, there's an enormous amount of stigma and connotation around the blue collar. And a lot of it is true and a lot of it is valid. and it comes from real places generationally.
Yeah.
Where blue collar was very dysfunctional, really rough, and didn't always have a light shine on them.
Yeah.
So for us, it feels missional. It feels full of purpose. I had one of our employees called me this morning, and I could tell that he was really, really emotional. And he's like, I don't think I can work today. Like mentally, emotionally, like it's been a really hard 48 hours. And I easily told him, I said, you're more important than the work. Like you do phenomenal work and we need you, but you're more important than the work. And then I was able to have this wonderful conversation with him on the phone about, if you go home and you're alone, is that good for you or is that bad for you? I understand you may not be able to do your job today, but what are you going to do for yourself today? And how can I support you? How can I empower you? Now, I'm going to pay him for today.
Yeah.
Like, why would I punish someone for being honest and realizing they need help?
Yep.
So to your question, how is it different? It's not.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, I think even this past week, we had a conversation with a potential client. She runs an incredible dance studio, and we're just having normal conversation with her. It's a lead for us. You know, we're going back and forth on the sales side. And I just made a quick comment and said, well, hey, we know that this is your baby. You know, this is your business that you've sacrificed so much for. We'd be honored to come alongside of you and help you elevate this business. And she just starts like bawling. And she looks at us, you know, through Zoom, and she's like, the level of sacrifice that I've given to this, like, I still don't, you know, have the biggest paycheck right now, and I'm still making ends meet and all these things. She goes, but I really believe that I can impact young ladies in this region. And as I'm looking at her on this call, even from my own journey, I'm going like, this is ministry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at this woman who wants to help impressionable young girls grow in their identity and their purpose and in community and all these dynamics. And I think in the most beautiful way, it's opened up, it's widened my perspective about how good God is, how big God is. I still believe the church is a lighthouse when you're on rocky waters and you need a place that can help you continue to find your true north and move forward. I still very much believe in that. But God is so big and he is so good that there are these opportunities in the for-profit space as well. For someone struggling to find their purpose in a normal job, what advice might you have for them if they're, again, kind of going to their normal 9 to 5 and they're just feeling a little bit burnt out or tired? Maybe they have an idea like you and Hannah did of wanting to make the jump, but they're just lacking the faith to do it. What advice might you have for someone like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a person of faith, it's fanning that flame so that God's voice in your life is louder than the critic that lives in you.
Yep.
And that's super, super important. And it's not just through prayer, meditation, reading the Bible, going to church, but it's surrounding yourself with being in good company.
Yep.
People around you that can fan that flame and speak that encouragement over your life to cancel that critic that lives inside of you. But I would say, you know, if you feel stuck where you are, don't allow yourself to become the victim. Don't compromise your character and your integrity, because you are who you are no matter where you go. So if you're a terrible employee right now, you're not going to be a great entrepreneur. So you've got to add as much value as you possibly can in your current situation. Like, bloom where you're planted until God tells you to go. And then root quick, surround yourself with great people, and then grind.
Yeah.
I think what is unfortunately minimized in the success story is the grind.
Mm-hmm.
It is the dark nights of the soul. It is those lows. It is the shadow of death that is creeping.
Yeah.
It is, you know, Elon Musk says that the job of a CEO is to stare at the unknown abyss while eating glass. It's like staring at the eventual potential demise of what you've built and risked to jump out to do while solving the worst problems that nobody else wants to.
Yeah.
So be ready for that and not surprised by it. Don't believe that the grass is greener. Don't be real with yourself. Be real with the risk, but take it. Take that risk.
It's really good.
Yeah.
You may not remember this story, but we, when we were working together, we did CrossFit 2 days a week, Tuesday, Thursdays at Ruck House. Shout out Ruck House.
Love those guys.
And I hated it. Number one, I hated working out. I hated the whole dynamic of that. And I was always kind of the goofy younger brother, and I was like making jokes throughout, and I was like doing the workouts, but I wasn't really like giving it a full go. And anytime that I felt queasy or felt like I was pushing too hard, I'd kind of like scale back, whatever. And one of our buddies that was there threw up, and I was picking on him, and I was like, "Oh, dude, you look yellow. You like you got some jaundice going on, whatever." And you made a comment to me, and you weren't being a jerk or whatever, but you were like, "Well, dude, like he pushed himself to the point of throwing up. Like he really pursued this and went after this. Like you should give this a little bit more push." And in the same way that you said, that was years ago at this point. If I didn't have those kind of challenging conversations early on in my life, I wouldn't have been ready for the entrepreneurship jump that I made. Because as silly as that example is, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Are you going to push yourself to a place where once the lights are off and everything is taken away, do you actually want to do this? Are you able to do this? Do you have the muscle memory and the patterns and the systems in place that you can actually handle these things? One of our favorite parts of our podcast is we talk about fails of the week. This is a segment where social media is so easy because, and you do a great job on social. If you don't follow Luke and H&L, you guys are always documenting the process, the journey. Like it's great. You're inviting people into the story. We always encourage our clients to do that. But that's one half of the story. What are maybe the fails over the past couple of years, or what's like one primary fail that you're like, I gotta share this story? Or it could be this week if you want.
Oh man. There's so many. I would say that the social media that you typically see of a business is not just half of the story. It's like 1% of the story.
There you go. Yeah.
And I before I give you some examples, I heard this quote you probably did recently. It's all over social media is, everybody wants to view from the top, but nobody wants to climb. It's like, and listen, in no way am I trying to discourage someone from taking the risk, jumping out, doing what you're passionate about. Like the world needs you, needs your product, needs your service, needs your value. Like we need that, but don't be surprised when it's hard.
Yep.
So a couple fails of the week. This week, it was just yesterday or the day before. I totally botched this as a leader. So we have this great culture with the Build crew. I mean, it's great camaraderie, but there's a high attention to detail and quality and all these kinds of things. But we've been able to create a culture that's really fun. Guys are friends at work, and they're teasing one another, and everybody's got a little bit of this mantra about them, and it's almost like this super friends team, and it's like really fun. However, because of that, it is difficult for us to give negative feedback because we're in our minds, we're always risking like hurting the vibe. So an employee came to me at the end of the day 2 days ago. And it was just he and I don't usually get an opportunity to work with him. I'd been working with him all day. He'd absolutely crushed it, did such a great job, and it was fun. And he came to me and he's like, "Hey, since it's just you and I, like, how have I been doing? Like, give me some feedback." And the first thing I said is, the fact that you are asking for feedback means you're doing fantastic. Means you're self-aware, means you're... But then I went on to just, like what do they call it? Correction sandwich or...
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do the good thing and then give a little nugget.
Your hair looks great today.
Of something and then whatever. It was all bread. Everything I gave back to him was all bread. It was like, you're awesome, your attention to detail, this, that, and the other thing. But this dude is so slow.
Okay.
I need him to move faster. And he's a little bit of a complainer. And I didn't have the courage to just tell him.
Yeah.
And that was an extreme disservice to him. It was a leadership blunder. And in a way, I actually have to almost wait for him to ask me again. Because I can't go up to him and be like, so, remember the other day?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So that was one of them. There was another one, kind of unrelated to leadership, where a couple of guys who do move very, very fast, almost too fast.
Yep.
They were doing demo in an upstairs bathroom, and old galvanized pipes. Whenever you see galvanized pipes, you've got to remove them and update them, because the things that are in the water now, different than what they were back then, like fluoride and these kinds of things, they rot the pipes, galvanized pipes, from the inside out. So they're ticking time bombs for leaks. So we demo this bathroom, and they're demoing some of the wall next to the pipes. We thought the shutoffs were off.
Oh no.
They cracked the pipe, and it was an upstairs bathroom, and it leaked through the kitchen ceiling below. The kitchen was 1 year old, and it was like mini waterfalls coming out of the lights.
Oh no.
The kitchen ceiling. It was terrible.
I mean, I'm happy that you're sharing that story. I can say from personal experience that does not reflect the normal H&L experience. So I appreciate you sharing the fail.
No, that was a big fail. And the fail was,
yes.
And we've created an SOP, a standard operating procedure, as a result of that story, is we always turn off the water main down in the basement, and we don't trust the individual shutoffs around the sinks or the faucets or anything like that. So it was a great learning opportunity, but I lost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And it was a point in the business where we didn't have thousands of dollars to lose. I thought I might have to shut the doors. Like, talk about sleepless nights.
Yep. Yeah. And so just really quick, and then we'll get off this. How do you go from a place of genuinely questioning everything and going like, am I even good enough at this? Am I, I thought it was going to be one thing. Now it's something else. There's different evolutions of your business. There's different cycles online that you can actually see, right? That talk about the stages, the life cycles of a business. How do you recover from that? You talk about SOPs, you talk about kind of, okay, let's fix it so it doesn't happen again. How do you build the confidence back up to feel like, hey, this is still what I'm called to, and I am going to fight another day? How do you internally manage that?
You gotta have people in your corner, again, that are silencing that inner critic that is constantly beating yourself down. You've got to have people that are genuine in their encouragement and aren't just flattering you for whatever reason, or patronizing you. That's one. And you have to have a serious level of resilience. It's that whole eating glass thing. It's like, no, I'm going to tuck my tail between my legs, and I'm going to go back there, and I'm going to rip out that kitchen ceiling, and I'm going to replace their floor that's swelled.
Ugh.
And I'm going to find a way to make it right. And it's going to be embarrassing. And I'm going to have to say I'm sorry 1,000 times. And I'm going to have to make it right. And I'm going to have to keep going back and back and back until it's done.
Yeah.
Until it's perfect. And what that builds in you as a person, that resilience, the ability to be comfortable while being uncomfortable. That is what will get you through all of those storms. Is that belief that, no, if I put my head down, like, and for those of us with faith, like, there's also this part of it where it's like, God, you told me to do this. And I'm surrounded by potential failure right now. There seems to be no way out. You led me here. So I'm going to go to sleep now for a few hours. And I need you to handle what you can handle, because I've handled all I can today. And I don't know how people do this without that. I have no idea. how they do it without that faith.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, faith in yourself is scary because we know ourselves.
Yeah.
And if that's all that you've got, like when you come to the end of yourself, your energy, your skill, your network, all those things, what is left? Like what is left for you to hang on to? I think that's obviously we share that. And I think that's a huge part of our business as well. I mean, those stories of, hey God, just making sure this is still.
Yeah. Did I hear you wrong a few years ago?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's huge. The other thing I would say too, for those that either have a business with a spouse or they have a family that they got to take care of on top of all of the things that they're managing, what has it been like for you and Hannah to go into a business venture together? Again, marriage is hard enough. Running a family is hard enough. I haven't entered the teenage stage, but I'm sure that's got its own unique challenges. What has it been like for you and Hannah, and maybe for people listening that they have an idea with their spouse, they want to kind of step into this? What has that been like?
Yeah, Hannah's quit twice and I fired her twice.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's going awesome. It's really hard. It's really hard because it's hard with an entrepreneur who doesn't have a spouse involved because you can't turn it off. It's like there's that funny video again. Gosh, we're so inundated with social media. There's that funny video of that guy who's like, when I'm not at work, I'm thinking about work.
Yes.
And when I'm not thinking about work, I'm thinking about work. And when I'm not doing that, I'm working.
Yeah.
It's like, it's hard to turn it off.
Yeah.
So then you add another human in the mix that is in the mix of the business, but also your spouse and, your partner with children and the home and all of those kinds of things. And it just dials everything.
Yeah.
And the nerve endings are always exposed.
Mm.
And it's never about not closing the refrigerator. It's about not closing the refrigerator, not answering that email, not communicating to that customer, that thing being late. And why did you say that to that crew member? Because now they're freaking out. It's like, how in marriage, when you get in a fight, it's never about the thing that you're fighting about.
Yeah. Okay,
well, now add a whole nother world to the possibilities that are added to that.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
The thing that Hannah and I have learned is don't let the pressure build.
Mm.
It's like an Instapot. You know how it's got that little thing on the top to vent it?
Yep.
It's like never close that in your relationship. Always have that vent open.
Yep.
Because life is hard enough and business is hard enough that it always pressurizes. So the vent always has to be open. And for Hannah and I, it's communication.
Yeah.
We talk multiple times a day on the phone. We talk in the evenings. The Saturday mornings are set aside for what we tell the kids is coffee, quiet, and contemplation.
Oh,
it's very nice. CQC. And that is just set aside time for Hannah and I, a couple hours to get through all the life stuff. Like, you got to take this person there and do that and the schedule and what about your mom and all that kind of stuff. We get past that. And then it's like, how are you?
Yeah.
How are you? And that helps a lot. And Hannah, we were getting creative about Hannah's role right now because in a lot of ways, the growth of the business has outpaced
Sure.
Hannah's able to give.
Yep.
Because she does tend to our home and to the children and all their needs and all those kinds of things. Serves me in amazing ways.
Yep.
So, now she's trying to figure out, does she catch up or does she find a different way to support the business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories of Hannah, and it was just another day for her. You guys would run small groups out of your house. And for those that don't have a church background, it's just, you'd get together with about 10 to 12 people in similar stages of life, and you'd read some scriptures and just kind of have conversation about your faith. And, you guys would always, the house would be great. We'd walk in, it was right in the city. And everything would be prepped. You guys had just Emerson at the time. And Hannah would just make sure that everything was good and ready. And this is before I was married. And I just remember, during everything, she'd participate, she'd be involved. But then when it was time to bring Emerson to bed, she would just pick up Emerson. Hey guys, I'll be right back. Walk upstairs, put her to bed, come back down. Hannah was always again, from my experience of like a little brother she was always this incredible demonstration to me as someone who wasn't yet married of someone who was okay in the supportive seat.
Yeah.
And one of the things I just want to honor about you guys and specifically her is that, as I mentioned before, there are different phases of the business. There is no H&L if you both didn't decide to launch it. And you guys served that season admirably and well. And as you step into this next season, regardless of what her, next step looks like, what is in her is so valuable. Even little things that feel like just everyday things that she's doing, she had no idea how much that impacted me and has now impacted my marriage and my future. And so again, for anyone listening, if you have a spouse that maybe is running a business or they're pushing hard and it feels like it's very hard to get them to disconnect, don't underestimate just the simple things that come very natural to you on a day-to-day level, that again, give us the power and the ability to go do some of these things.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And it's so true about Hannah. She is not an accessory.
Right.
Like, it is not possible without her. It's not possible. And, I think culturally, people have a problem being second in charge. And it's not a hierarchical thing. In scripture, in Genesis, it's a complementary thing. Like, you look at the original language around Adam and Eve and the creation and how they're supposed to be together. It's complementary. It's not Adam and then Eve.
Yep.
And without the complement of our spouse towards one another, I think it just doesn't work.
Yep.
And that's where the tension, starts.
It's fantastic, man. I think there are so many people out there that they might have an individual dream, but if you're not, the two becomes one.
Right.
If you don't have a true counting the cost opportunity, it's always going to fly in opposition. Yep. You need to have that cohesive drive, that cohesive move forward. I think it's incredible, man. Again, thinking about your business, how can people work with H&L, or what do you guys feel like are those maybe one or two, or maybe there's more? What are those things that you guys really specialize in? Like, if someone's watching this that has never heard of you guys, certainly check out their Instagram and see some of their incredible projects. But what do you, what are you guys booking out to? What do you have kind of on the horizon for some great ways that people can actually connect and work with you?
I think what makes us different, there's a lot of incredible companies that will deliver a great end product.
Yep.
But the journey to get there is not a great journey.
Yep.
We specialize in being, it's almost like a high-end, all-inclusive cruise. We're going to take you somewhere. And as soon as you get on that boat, you don't need to worry about anything. Everything's included, because we're a turnkey built cruise. So we self-perform just about everything, 90 to 95% of everything. So there's a 2-man team that's assigned to a project. They're there every day, consecutive days, without stop, until the project's done. They're even there if and when, on the rare occasion, a subcontractor needs to come in to do some kind of specialty work that they'll do better than we can. And again, it's rare. That 2-man crew's still there for that.
Yep.
We don't take breaks in our calendar. We're not handing the baton off to other subcontractors and disciplines. And, not only during the build, but prior to the build, the planning, the selection process. I mean, in the average kitchen, there's a roughly 220 decisions that need to be made.
Wow.
In one kitchen. So we guide all of those decisions. We give choices based on the person's aesthetic. And our results, they kind of speak for themselves. The results are great, but the journey to get there is absolutely wonderful. We get testimonies from past customers all the time. Like, my kids miss the guys, and the dog isn't acting the same anymore because you guys aren't here anymore. And like, they genuinely miss the guys that, in a way, kind of become part of their family for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's different.
Awesome.
In a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. When you guys were doing work at our house, my son, anytime somebody comes and does work at our house, he calls them the bad guys, but he loves the bad guys in like all the Disney movies and stuff. So it's like, it's actually a term of endearment.
Yeah.
And so when you guys left, he's like, where are the bad guys? And anyway, so it turns out bad guys are good guys. I know, right. Last question I have for you. So think about H&L in 10 years from today. What do you envision? Is it something that you see, and maybe it's too early for someone like Link or whatever, but is it something that you see as this real legacy building thing where it's like you can bring along, your son one day, or you can just, continue to expand? What do you see kind of 10 years from today?
I love these questions because I have no idea.
Yeah.
Some people get irritated with me or think I'm crazy. I don't set goals. I'm disciplined. So what got the discipline that got me here is the discipline that will get me there. So I would rather exercise my effort in being disciplined today and tomorrow and trust that that's going to lead me where I'm supposed to go. Because if I obsess about the future or I drive to a certain goal, I lack presence today. I lack presence even in this moment because I might be thinking about, and there's things to do. Like I got task lists and I'm a pretty organized guy, but I had no idea, man. God's been faithful to here. He's going to be faithful there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to be disciplined and we'll see.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is just because I have ADHD, but when you said presence, it reminded me of a sermon that I preached.
More story time.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
So I still have a couple of friends that still text me every single Christmas because it's funny. I spoke a message once titled, "It's not about..."
This is so good. Good.
I spoke a message once. And it was titled, "It's not about presence, it's about presence." Well done.
Good.
So the real point and the real, it was almost sign language, if you will. It's not about presence. It's about presence. And Amen. Christmas is about his presence, right? Christmas. Okay. We got it. Okay.
Okay. So, another favorite moment, I actually tried to find a video earlier today.
Oof. Oh, Christmas. Did you think I was going to share that?
I did. But since you didn't, could you sing it, please?
This Christmas, the fireside is blazing bright. Yeah.
I remember the guy that came in the song after, I think, your second line.
Yeah.
Our buddy Ed.
Yeah. Dominated, bro.
He like, you were front line. I think you were wearing like a red suit, slicked back hair. Like you were the front runner.
We'll clip it in.
But this guy, he stole the show.
Because I suck at singing, he stole the show. Bro, that was back in the day when we had Saturday evening services, and then we had like 3 or 4 on Sunday. And Saturday evening, I was so scared, and I performed it. And our keyboard player at the time, the camera zoomed in, and I tried to hit this note, and he was like, and you could just tell that everybody was like unsure about why we asked Mike Thomas to do this.
Are we supposed to laugh or?
So I actually appreciate Ed. Shout out Ed for basically taking the lead on that song, because
maybe that's what he was doing the whole
Saturday night. I just it was at that time that I realized that my time was done.
Yeah. With that, but I think
right,
you became youth pastor.
Yeah, fair. So. Okay, right. So I realized that singing was not what God had called me to. I was in a musical in high school. I mean, in college as well. So we could talk about that in another podcast, because I'm sure everyone listening really cares.
We could talk about your dreads too.
I did want dreads. That's also true.
You were close.
Well, look, I could talk to Luke for probably the next 3 hours, and we have stories upon stories about just funny things, amazing things. But I respect you so much, and I honor you, the way that you lead your family, your team. You are one of those guys in my life I will never live again. You're one of those guys that for the rest of my life I will point to as someone who has helped me, guided me, and you are a true brother to me. I love you and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
We have one final part of the podcast.
Let's do
favorite part.
Okay.
This is the rapid fire questions. You have to give quick answers. I don't need long paragraphs and everything else. You ready?
Yes.
Rapid fire questions. Here we go. Question 1. What's your go-to meal to grill for your family?
Brisket.
Brisket. What's your dream outdoor adventure destination?
New Zealand.
If you could design a kitchen for anyone, past or present, living or dead, who would it be?
Bilbo Baggins.
Okay. That's great. What's the most unique job you've ever done?
Unique job. I crawled around on the ground when I was in middle school and picked apples.
Oh,
is that what you meant, or did you mean like H&L job?
no, that works. Should have been more clear.
It was a terrible job.
That's okay. You did though. Did you get paid?
Very poorly. Do you want to hear the story? No, this is rapid fire.
We'll come back. We'll come back. What is the one tool? Like, what's your favorite tool? Just gotta have it. It could be H&L related.
Right now, unfortunately, it's my phone.
Okay.
Because the phase of the business that it's in right now, I have to have my phone.
That's good. That's good.
Well, I miss the tools.
That's all right. What's your favorite part about being a dad?
Molding without controlling.
Ooh, really good. Final question. What is one word to describe your family?
Adventure. Yeah.
Opposite.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Why don't you quickly share the Apple story?
No, I'd rather share something that would add value.
Oh,
I was thinking about this and praying about the podcast.
please do.
So my favorite scripture right now is out of 1 Samuel chapter 21. David says, the king's work required haste. The story goes that he runs into this town and he sees the priest, and the priest is like, you got to go battle, man. You don't have a sword. You don't have a shield. And he was like, well, God told me to go here, so I dropped everything and I just went. The king's work required haste. And the priest goes, all we have is Goliath's sword. Do you want to use that? And David was like, hell yeah. Pretty much. That's what he said. He said, there's none like it. And what that quote in the story tells me is, God will call you to leave many things behind that have been comfortable and have had your name on it. He will move you quickly to a new place where you think you don't have what it takes. And then he'll give you something better, and you'll realize it had your name on it the whole time. Because David first used Goliath's sword to cut off Goliath's head after he had knocked him down with the sling. So the king's work requires haste. And I'm moving with that intensity in life right now. Trusting, I'm not leaving H&L or anything.
No, I don't
like
you.
that. But with that attitude, I think brings success.
It's amazing. I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. And again, I could talk with Luke for so long. I think just the amount of wisdom that he has. And again, if you aren't already following him at Luke and H&L, please give them a follow and reach out. And again, thanks so much for swinging by the In Good Company podcast, where we believe that the best parts in business happen in good company. Thanks so much.